Hey, everybody, you are looking at the beautiful face of my also longtime friend, Kosta Macreas. He's the founder of ETLet'sTalk.com, the ET Let's Talk community, the People's Disclosure Movement, the People's Love Alliance, and the Global CE5 Initiative. I've known Kosta for also probably 30 years. He's an international networker, he's a creative artist, and he's been working on behalf of healthy relationships between all of us, all life forms, ET, human, his whole adult life. He's an amazing guy. Um, he's a dedicated spiritual activist. He's been fascinated with the mysteries of the universe his entire life. And his current passion and mission is the website, etletstalk.com. We're going to learn more about that. We're going to learn more about the People's Disclosure Movement. But let's just start by welcoming Kosta. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Scott, nice to be here with you. Thank you very much for that kind introduction.
Absolutely. Let's go right into this really important project that you've created. Tell us about etletstalk.com. What is
Certainly.
it, the community, how did it get started, how do people participate?
Sure. There's a lot there. Yeah, etletstalk.com is today a growing community of 50,000 more people in more than 100 countries across the planet. It was founded by me in 2012, and we continue to grow and add more people and more teams across the planet. The basic idea has been in this community to teach the star people contact, ET contact. They like to be called star people, they told me, but I sometimes just go back and forth between ET and star people, so I hope they forgive me for that. But the basic idea is to teach individuals and teams how to make their own contact with these beings who are here at this time and to interact with them. We use actually it winds up being different protocols to do that, and I can talk more in detail about that as we go on. But the basic idea is the use of consciousness, intention, the raising of our vibrations so that we can be detected and known and interact with these beings who are often operating on higher vibrational levels than we are. So as a community, we've been doing this since 2012, and we've been holding monthly virtual get-togethers on Saturdays since then. Actually, since 2010, I started that, where the entire community gets together during a Saturday that's nearest the new moon so that we can get a dark sky for the people that want to have visual kind of sightings. But we've been doing this every month, and joining as this virtual community and joining and visualizing ourselves as a network across the planet, which creates a unified group field of welcome and invitation to the benevolent star visitors. And by doing this month after month over the years, we have amassed quite a load of experience from hundreds of sightings, stories, healings, all kinds of communication that's happened in the community as a result of this activity. And the idea is to keep it going. And that's what I'm really all about, is to tell people that this community is out there. There are other communities too, which I'm happy to see, because we are a worldwide movement. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as the People's Disclosure Movement as we go on. But our ET Let's Talk community is definitely about just making this contact, teaching people, everyday people, how to do it and how easy it is, and then creating a support group so that we can all share our contact experiences and learn from each other and teach each other, because this is not only experimental what we're doing and unheard of, but it's also experiential. We're learning as we're going. I don't think any of us has, or none of us should claim that we have all the answers about what the star people are, who they are, where they're from, and what they're doing. But we have a lot of pieces of a jigsaw, of a puzzle that we put together as a community and share the information so that we can get a clearer and more holistic understanding as we go on of of who they are and how we can work with them, because they want to work with us, and how we move forward as partners, which is really what they're wanting. So that in a nutshell is what the ET Let's Talk community is about. And I always ask people to come join. Membership is free, and you can just come to etletstalk.com and become part of the community and become part of the conversation, and most of all, become part of the experience of making this contact. It's awesome.
You know, one of the things that I really appreciate about what you're providing is that it's an opportunity for people that are maybe feeling isolated, or like they've had an experience and, you know, people are saying you're crazy, you're not believing them. And so your community really helps people to realize that they're not crazy, that actually the experience they've had is a blessing and something very special.
You put it very well, probably in better words than I could, Scott. That's beautiful, because at the basis here, this is an effort of the heart, or an attempt to make communication. And when people come to me, and this happens every day as I network and meet new folks who are coming into the community, what you mentioned is very germane, because everybody has a story of how they've had a sighting or a communication of some sort. And more often than not, people will say, as you've noted, that they have felt that they may be made fun of or thought crazy or lose a job. So they have kept this to themselves. Not everyone, but many people have been in the closet about this. What this community has been about, and this movement, is to make this more acceptable, to throw off the chains of how we've been described by the cover-up that's gone on, that has diminished those of us who've had these experiences or attempted to, but now to put the power back in our hands as people to tell these stories, to come out and say that there's way more of us than anybody ever realized who've had experiences, and it's time that we got together and shared those experiences and supported each other, even if we're not getting support, you know, from family members or from partners or from work colleagues or whatever. So yes, the community is all about emboldening people and making it safe for them to come out, tell their story, and realize that they have a lot more company than they ever thought possible. It may be virtual company, because there's thousands of us across the planet, but thanks to the miracle of Zoom and the internet, we do have that support, even if it's electronic.
I'm going to go back and forth between some of my questions and questions from the audience. Kira Slade writes, I've had several connections with my star family. I love the feeling that happens when I connect with them. I want to keep it going, but I also feel the need at this point to keep a balance with my physical world. I'm not sure how to balance it. Any suggestions? Great question.
Well, sure. I run into that too. This community is so vibrant and growing, and I've been having my own experiences that I could easily drop everything else I'm doing and just be happy continuing, with the ET contact. But we're here to, I believe, spiritually, to learn how to balance, so many things. What I would recommend is what I do, like with any other project, allot so many hours to yourself for this activity. There's no reason this should have to be any different than any other activity you're doing, right? You don't let other parts of your life kind of railroad and run over other parts of your life. Most of us, I think, do plan. Actually, I have to confess, I don't plan enough, but the intention is there, and we allot the time, and we say, this is my reserved time for my meditation, for my ET contact. This is the time I reserve to go out with my friends under the stars and make contact. And of course, these are the other times I reserve for doing the laundry, going to work, taking care of my family. It should be done with grace and with a sense of joy, is what I say, not with a sense of, this is not a zero-sum game. By taking away from one thing, you're leaving another thing undone. This is all about, there's plenty of love to go around. You just have to manage your energy, manage your time, and I think you can have a balanced life doing that if you just have the right attitude and not feel rushed or judge yourself or say you're not doing enough. That's something that happens a lot, where a lot of us who are in the service work may say to ourselves, man, I should be doing more in my waking hours to save the world, to do this and that. And the truth is, we can't burn ourselves out. So my advice to you, don't burn yourselves out. Find that balance in time and in your heart and energy, and realize that we have a lot of cosmic help, and your star families, I'm sure, must be telling you also that you're not alone. A lot of us are working on communication with them and with doing our service work to help save the world. So it's not just up to one person. We shouldn't feel like we have to give all. It would burn us out. Let's give some and balance it. And I think that will be doing the best thing that you can do for the overall picture of how we're evolving. Thank you for considering that and bringing it up, because it's an important question that faces a lot of us.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I want to add one other thought too, if I may, and that is, when we have a mystical or sacred experience, don't make a religion out of it, right? And don't try and assign too much meaning to it. Sometimes it's just a beautiful experience, and it's beautiful to see what our interpretations might be, but not to get too attached to the interpretation.
I agree, Scott, because especially when you start, when I started in this and my experiences were coming, it was, gee, wow, let me drop everything else and get into this. No, you can't do that. It goes back to what the previous thing we were talking about is, find a balance, and you will find you enjoy all of your life then, because you've found that balance. And I want to extend a little bit the point you were just saying about not turning it into a religion. Really good point, Scott, because early on in my experience talking to the star people and my communications with them, one of the first things they said to me was, do not look upon us as gods. Don't do that. We are to be considered as elder brothers, sisters, and cousins. We're family. We may be family that is a little bit further along a spiritually or technologically evolved path than you are now, but we're still family. In other words, don't make a religion out of us. That has been done, as we know, and they don't want that to continue into the future. This is a collaborative, peer-to-peer kind of partnership with them that they want as mentors, as friends and family again. How would you feel about discovering a cousin, let's say, across the waters that you never knew you had? Maybe you did some kind of genealogical research and, oh my God, there's this person. And you find out that they are so much more knowledgeable and experienced in life and things. You would not worship them, but you would want to communicate with them and say, hey, how are you doing? Let's shake hands. I've got some questions about this. You've been down this road. What would you recommend? That's where the partnership comes in. It's that elder family, an elder brother or sister, cousin, that out of love for you will give you advice and help you along, but not do your work for you, because that would be taking away from your own evolution.
It's so beautifully stated. I really love that. They are our elder brothers and sisters that are here to guide us and support us and their family. That's beautifully put.
Yeah.
How did this all start for you, Kosta? I mean, I know it's been a lifelong thing, but any stories you want to share about maybe how this kind of got going for you?
Oh, absolutely. I like to say that everybody who comes into this community has a story, and it's just my pleasure to be listening to yours and other people's stories, because you know what? No two are alike. I am learning every day. So yeah, I've got my own story. The real brief background is I came of age in the early 60s in the United States and in the Midwest in Indiana, at a time when the NASA space program, regardless of what many people here think about NASA, back then it kind of ruled the roost. And the Gemini, the Mercury, the Apollo programs, all of that was part of a shared world experience back then, as humanity strove to reach the stars in conventional ways. So I was informed by that program, and I was into astronomy, had a telescope. I was reading a lot of science fiction. So my whole youth was really pointed upwards and always wondering about the, you know, the splendor of the heavens and enjoying that and feeling a mystical connection to it. As well as wonder what the life is out there. You know, there's got to be life. When I was about 10 or 11, I picked up a classic paperback book with a UFO, a classic UFO with a dome-shaped top on the cover, and a lot of pictures that came out of the contactee movement of the 50s, and I was smitten. So that was my childhood. I could not read enough at that point. There weren't a lot of books, not like what it's like now with the internet, where information about our star people friends is all over the place. But back then, I read what I could, and that set the stage for what happened in 2006, which is when I discovered that people using the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols, using consciousness and meditation and raising their vibration, could get together in groups and actually make their own connection instead of being passive and hoping that sometime in their lives they might have a UFO encounter. This was a proactive, human-initiated, interactive experience. And so in Mount Shasta, one night during the week that I was learning with this group of people how to make our own contact, and we were seeing the lights in the sky and orbs in the trees and all kinds of things, I had an experience that changed my life, and I'll try to be brief about that. But for a half hour, in the company of 9 other adults, sane and sober, at around midnight at the foot of the mountain, we watched a small sphere, a starship, a small starship of about, I want to say, to 3 to 5 feet diameter. Time has kind of changed. I didn't pull out a tape measure. I didn't want to get that close, although I thought about it. But a sphere materialized out of thin air in front of the group of us, maybe about 6, 7, 8 feet away from me. And it hovered above the ground just a few inches. It was noiseless. There were no other real artifacts, things going on, no wind. It wasn't the shadows. It wasn't the moon. It was clearly there. And it was you couldn't see through it, opaque. It looked gray to me. But for half an hour, it hovered there. And then one of the people from across the way who was watching this suddenly said to all of us, I just got a telepathic message from the beings who are inside of this. And they tell me that they're scientists and they're here to study the human energy system. And I thought to myself, wonderful, we're somebody's PhD project, you know, it's a field trip, but okay. It sounds innocuous enough. It makes sense to me that other beings would be doing this. So for that half hour, the woman that was standing next to me, I'll call her Gloria, who also saw this, was not talking and she was not moving for the half hour, and she had her arms out like this for that half hour. I stayed close to her because I knew something was going on, but I didn't want to move away just in case she showed any signs of distress. At the end of the half hour, she just kind of got a little woozy and physically moving around, and I steadied her by her shoulders and asked her, you know, what was going on? Are you okay? And all that. And she said she was okay, just a little disoriented. I asked her what had happened, and here's the real core of my story, what changed my life, other than seeing this other object materialize in front of me, which is, I've never seen that happen before, that float there. But what she said was that one of the beings from inside that little ship, one of the scientists, approached her telepathically during the time that she was standing there, not moving and not talking to the rest of us. This being asked her if it could merge with her and study her energy system. Many people would probably run away with their hair on fire at that point. Some of us would not. And she had the greatest presence of mind because what she said to this being was, you know, you can do that, but I have 3 conditions. One is that I remain cognizant of my surroundings. I don't want to be unconscious or knocked out. I want to be aware of my surroundings. And the being agreed to that condition. The second condition was, well, I want you to leave when I say that you should leave. And the being agreed to that. And the third condition was, and what presence of mind to ask all these questions, but the third condition was, I don't want any probing, no messing with my sexual organs or whatever, none of that. And the being agreed with that. So at the end of that half hour, I guess they were done with the experiment, and that's when she became a little unstable and snapped out of that. And we watched then as this small ship then suddenly receded into the background. It dematerialized just as silently and quietly as it had come on, and it was gone. So right then and there, all the laws of physics I had been taught had been violated, because I've never seen anything materialize like that and hover. And so I said to myself, if this can happen to me, and it happened rather easily, all we did was sit in a circle and meditate. Anybody can do this. And I really felt compelled to help people understand that this is real, that everyday people can do it, and that I want to start organizing people to do this together as a group and have more of these experiences.
Beautiful. That's thank you for sharing that story. And I think one of the things that's coming through in what you're sharing is just how diverse people's experiences can be. And again, just recognizing that each of us have our own unique perceptions, our own unique way of seeing things, our own unique archetypal understanding. And so a question for you: to what degree do you think that this might actually just be a dream world, and each person's having their own unique dream that includes their own unique dream of connection to the star family?
I think that's totally possible. We do live in a consensus reality. And I mean, that's a real profound question. I'm not sure I have the answer to that, but it's certainly possible. We're all walking around. Think about it. How do we manage to form societies, right? Or any kind of a group when each of us is in really our own little reality? We've had, as you said, diverse experiences that have informed us and altered our actions. How is it that we still manage to get along with all these other people that have their own other little realities? So this is a more deeper fundamental question, not just about UFOs and ETs, but basically, what are we doing here,
Yeah.
on this planet, and how are we managing to do it and agree to get along and get things done when sometimes we don't agree on what we're seeing and such? I don't have an answer to that. It amazes me, Scott. It amazes me, and yet it somehow still seems to work, right? We have formed, since humans were invented, we have formed groups, tribes, societies. We've warred with each other. We've loved each other. We continue to build. We continue to destroy. We're all sharing some kind of consensus reality, despite what's going on between our ears here in our own personal reality. And I'm not wise enough to know how all that works, but I will say that I honor the diversity that's out there, because it just shows you that you don't know everything, and you can't be walking around like this with your blinders on thinking you have all the answers. And that's why I said this is an experiential community. You learn from every single person that has had an ET Star People encounter. You learn something new about what they saw, what they expected to see, how it's affected them.
We've got about 6 minutes left, so I'm going to fire off a few quick questions. Somebody asked, can UFOs come as orbs? Or what's the relationship between orbs and ETs?
I think that they can. It has happened to me. It's been in my experience where I have seen ETs in the orbs. I'm not wise enough to say that I know all the physics that are out there. If they're coming in as an orb and there's an entire ship in there, and yet they seem to be the size of a grapefruit or a beach ball, and they're floating in a tree, and how they're getting in there and taking up all that space, I don't know. It's a part of reality that is not yet evident to me, and yet I have seen those orbs, and we've had pictures of them, and we have seen faces in them when you magnify them, so you know that there are beings in there. Who's to say that we as humans know everything there is to know about the construction of this universe of reality, and that we have all the answers and all the formulas? I'm a very scientifically based person, so I do honor formulas. We see them working. Everything we're doing right now is the result of some scientific law that was discovered, right? And is being used to allow us to talk to each other this way, to create the table that we're on, whatever. Science matters, but I don't think science knows everything. And so the science of some of these star people being able to come in different forms is something we have yet to learn. And I find it actually exciting. And that's why I like the idea that our star friends are family, because I want to talk further with them and find out the formulas they're using, the stuff that we don't yet know about physics and hyperphysics that they're using to travel through the dimensions and to achieve different forms.
Yeah, I think that's really beautifully put. I mean, 100 years ago, who could have possibly imagined how a
Right.
transistor radio worked or how a cell phone worked?
Oh,
Right? I
yeah,
mean,
it would have been magic, and to some
total
people,
magic.
black magic, but to some people, this is white magic. It brings us together.
Exactly. Tell us about the People's Disclosure Movement and the People's Love Alliance.
Those are the two movements that I personally see within my vision as being the hope of the world. There are two integrated movements, the People's Disclosure Movement and the People's Love Alliance. The People's Disclosure Movement is the widest, most interactive movement to bring us humans in contact with our star people. ET Let's Talk is part of that movement, as are so many other networks that are teaching people how to make contact. And it's bigger than you think. 1.3 billion people actually believe that star civilizations exist and that we should be communicating with them.
Wow.
Now, not all those people are making contact. Half of them are looking for their next meal, but the belief is there. The mindset is there that life is out there, it's here visiting us, and it's in bigger numbers than any of us ever dreamed. So that's our People's Disclosure. We're not waiting as people who are making our own contact. We're not waiting for a government, a president, a premier, a prime minister to make an announcement. And I know this may come as a shock with some people, but I'm not looking for disclosure. I don't care anymore about the official disclosure. The People's Disclosure happened in 2019, a year ago, when my star friends tell me that enough of us were making contact with them that we now have an incredible momentum that cannot be stopped. There is so much of humanity that is ready and has made contact. It's the biggest elephant or the biggest ET starship in the room that no one has been talking about, but it's the People's Disclosure. There's enough of us now doing this that no government or institutional authority can tell us, can cover it up anymore. That's all in the past. We're talking about the future. That disclosure happened in 2019. It's the People's Disclosure, and we're carrying it forward until the day comes when the conditions are right for our star people friends to be here on Earth with us so that we can work more openly with each other. So that's the People's Disclosure movement. I see a lot of hope in that. The People's Love Alliance is composed of 1 billion human beings. I'm told again by my star friends who have a kind of a bigger view of the big picture. 1 billion human beings have opened their hearts just enough, doesn't mean that we're all Mother Teresa, but just enough that we are open to the new energies coming in now that want to build a golden age on the planet. We are people who value kindness, goodwill, love, compassion, building rather than destroying. None of us is perfect, but we're all, like I said, we're open and we're working towards that. And that's what the People's Love Alliance is. I will be making more videos, and that's why I encourage people to come to etletstalk.com, because I can communicate with you and tell you when I'm going to be giving more information about this Love Alliance. And what it means is that there are people in greater numbers than any of us imagined, this 1 billion, who are actively working to make a better world, and that we do have a chance to survive all these incredible challenges. Don't need to enumerate those. Everybody knows what those are, that may want to destroy our civilization, but we're up to the task. We are those who are the builders, and that's what the People's Love Alliance is. And it's working together with the People's Disclosure Movement. I don't see them as different things. They're two sides of the same coin. The cosmic societies are here to help us because they know that we are at a point where we can spiritually evolve. Call it ascension, call it what you will. There are many names. And though they don't want to do the work for us, they're here to help us. The People's Love Alliance are the people, us, our friends, who are doing the work that we can do, that we're able to do to make a better world in so many different ways that that and different roles that we can play that are out there. None of us are doing the same thing, but it's taking a global village to save this planet. And we have the help of the galactics to do that. So in a nutshell, that's the People's Love Alliance working with the People's Disclosure Movement. And that's what makes me a cautious optimist that we're going to make it through this. It looks tough, but we have way more help. And I keep telling people, concentrate on what you want, not on the victimhood of what's been done to us as a species or as a planet. There's a lot of history to that, but now's the time to create and look forward. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what we're doing in these two different movements.